Hello. Is this thing on? Testing, 1, 2. Got a couple people in here. No intro tonight. I did not have time to make one. Looks like we got Kern77, Luxury Noise, Mark Robinson, Rick Fields, Rainy Cakes, and Zodicus in the chat. Good evening. Good evening. This is kind of a special, very special episode. I have not streamed since May, I guess. Been taking the summer off. Been enjoying the nice weather outside, and yeah, I'm not gonna waste too much time here. I want to get right into the album. What's up, Mr. Big Farts? What's up, Crimson Comet? Happy Friday, happy Friday. As you probably already know, DJ Prom Night is my Slushwave alter ego, and it is only available on. Oh, let's get that big album art out of the way. It's only available on my Bandcamp subscription page. Why do this? Well, I need to eat and pay rent, and this is how I figured out how to do it. So check it out. There's all kinds of really cool stuff. I'm sure any Equips Picks members in the chat can attest. I've been just going ham, releasing stuff on Equips Picks. I do one every month. Let's see what we got in here as far as music goes. So, I mean, you can get my whole discography, and you can get all this bonus stuff. I've got some future funk, some late night lo-fi, some continuous high energy DJ mixes, classic vaporwave, ambient, mall-soft, everything in between, really. It's been a really fun outlet for me to just kind of get these creative ideas that I get in my head out and committed to tape, basically. Oh, my webcam's been doing this all night. Keeps slipping. Gosh darn it. All right. Well, yeah. Let's get into the album, shall we? Actually, first of all, let me make sure I got everything set up here correctly. I started setting up earlier than I usually did, but I haven't done a solo stream in a while, so got some other people in the chat here. Mark Robinson, Sega Octopus, what's up? Molotovich, what's up? Tetracrystal Music, happy birthday again. Thank you so much. Capitanista, Capitanista, ayo. So yeah, tonight we're gonna do strictly a listening party for my new DJ Prom Night album, I'm Not in Love. It is vaguely inspired by the 10cc song, I'm Not in Love. The lyrics are kind of they're kind of funny and tragic in a way. They describe the feelings that you get early in a relationship, like a new relationship, after you've just exited kind of a painful one. And the narrator is basically trying to convince himself that he's not falling in love because he doesn't want to get hurt again, which is, I think, something that we can all relate to as human beings. So I didn't actually sample that 10cc song. I sampled the cover of that song, but basically trying to encapsulate that feel into a Slushwave record. Let me just I'm gonna pull up a Twitch window here so I can kind of sit and chat with you guys while the album's going. I'm gonna try not to interject too much while I'm listening here. So this is being dual streamed to YouTube and Twitch, as we usually do on the 100p channel. So, okay. I got a nice little chat box up. Let's go. Let's do this. Here we go. Okay. Can you hear it? No one can hear it? Okay. I messed something up. Alright, give me a second here. No matter how hard I try, I can't always get the audio right. We're gonna shut that mic off. And then, okay, thank you, chat, thank you. This is Avant-Garde Slushwave. Thank you, Rick Fields. Let's see if we can get a direct audio capture of that. 1 amp here. Desktop audio, where are you? Okay. That's fine, it gives a couple more people a chance to come in here while we're setting this up. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to straight up unplug my mic. I can't live without that air conditioner. Alright, I hope this works. Maybe not. Okay, that didn't work. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. I think you left your PS4 on in the background. That's funny. Advanced audio properties. Come on. Alright. Ah, air conditioner. You know it. Huh. It's so weird, it's like it combines desktop audio with the mic. This always happens when I go sans mixer. And of course OBS is OBS, so hope everyone's having a good week. I've been working on this music video that we're going to show in a little bit here. As well as some solo equip projects. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna have to straight up Google this because I don't understand what's happening. Delete that. Add that. Alright, let's see if this works. Oh, that's something. Okay. Alright. Yo. That's it. That's the record. I hope you liked it. What's up, y'all? Camera's a little tilted again. Good enough. Good enough. Okay, so yeah, thanks for sticking around for the whole album. Got a couple other little fun things to do to fill the next hour. I made a music video for the third track on the album, Too Late to Meet You. And I think we'll dive right into that. And then I have Ableton open, and I was going to do like a little, another little Slushwave tutorial, because I've kind of, I've altered my process a bit since the last one. And I thought we could make like a slush chain from scratch this time, since I think last time we just pulled up my existing one. So I think that would be fun to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to play the music video for Too Late to Meet You, and hopefully the audio just works. So I'm gonna bug off for this one. The screen's not big enough for all of this. It is in 4:3 aspect ratio, so we'll pop this up on the 100p channel sometime in the next couple of days. But here it is. Alright. That was that. Let's see if I can figure out how to on here. Oh God. Got monitor off on all of these. Why am I still hearing myself? Oh, maybe because I have the YouTube video playing too. Jeez. Okay. That's a little better. Okay. Yeah, so this is Ableton Live. Let's close out Winamp. So I got a couple songs. I keep like a playlist of DJ Prom Night, like soon to be DJ Prom Night tracks, and basically like I know now what will make a good DJ Prom Night song when I hear it, and I try to set it aside. For that last album, I'm Not in Love, I probably listened to about like 100 J-pop records from the 90s to cull that one. I tried to get new stuff that I wasn't already that I didn't already have on my DJ Prom Night to make playlist. So I processed a lot of stuff in preparation for that. But I've got some more stuff here. So let's check out this track, this Michael Cooper track. This one I heard on like a YouTube auto played it, and I was like, oh hell yeah, this is gonna work. So let's see. So we're just drag it right over here into the window. I didn't even think about like copyright stuff. I don't think we're gonna save this VOD anyway, so not a big deal. But is he related to Dale? Good one, Lux. All right, I'm just gonna play the dry song, see if you can hear it. I don't think you can hear it. Okay. Let's let me do what I did for that first video. Let's see. Audio input capture. Not the one of my voice. Audio output capture. There we go. I think this will work. Yeah, you guys can hear that, right? Yeah, this track fucks. Ooh, yeah. That's a hot jam already. So usually I try to tap up the tempo while the song's playing. Make sure warp is off. So let's tap this out. 1, 2, 3, 4. So once you have kind of a oh, you already sampled this, Lux. Of course. Great minds think alike, right? So let's zoom way in. So the intro's cool and all, but I'm not going to sample it. I'm going to go straight for the drums. So let's see. Let's drag this about. This looks like the starting point, right? So for Ableton, this is arguably the most important part. Is you put a warp marker right there on the first beat, and then you left click, and then you go to set 1.1.1 here. So what that does is it basically sets the playback head so that it's going to start there on the first beat. So let's see how it sounds. It's a little early, actually. Maybe it's here. No, it's definitely there. But we want that whole hit, so Ableton's kind of cutting it off a little bit here. So this looks like where it really starts. Let's drop the warp marker there, hit set 1-1 here, and then you left click and go to warp from here straight. And what that does is it basically tries to apply Ableton's grid-locking warping algorithm to the sample. It sometimes needs some manual adjustment depending on how tight or loose the drum track is, but let's just see how it sounds with a click. It's pretty close. It's pretty close. So another good tip I mentioned in the previous video is like every 4 bars you can drop a warp marker. I swear Lux and Cat System Corp has sampled the same songs like 30 times at this point. You know, it's hard to find stuff that nobody has sampled before. It's just like I mean, everybody has good taste and everybody's into the same kind of sounds, so hopefully, I think I am in the clear for that latest DJ Prom Night record. I dug pretty deep for those samples. So another thing you can do too is like look for the snares, and then like, so like the 4-2 snare, we'll just drag it right there to 4-2. See, that's dead on. That's dead on the grid. And that's what we want for Slushwave.
Wait a minute.
So there's a pretty clean 8 bars right there. We're just going to isolate that. Drag this and then left click. Or right click and then go to loop selection. So here we just have that one loop. And what we're going to do with this, I've mentioned previously that there's a couple different ways to do this. You can use repitch, and then that locks the tempo to the pitch. We're going to do complex because it's already kind of slow. It's already at 78 BPM. And if we make it any slower, the pitch might get out of the range where it's going to sound good. So let's drag this down just a little bit. 65 BPM sounds cool for this. And then I'm going to transpose it down. This is all personal taste. Let's try 3 semitones. Let's try 6 semitones. We're getting there. So right away, what I would do is just loop that first part a couple more times before it gets to the second part. So that loop's alright. This is like the biggest hack I can teach you here for smooth looping transitions. Use that frickin' crossfader. So crossfade this into the next one, and then you get that solid kick from the second part, like transferring over into it. So we'll just kind of do that a little bit to ease our transitions. So make the loop smoother and make the edit less apparent. Sometimes this is not necessary, but I feel like it almost always makes it better. There's sometimes where it doesn't work either. Like if there's a cymbal splash or something and it gets kind of cut off, but let's check it out. Yeah, see how it smooths that transition out a little bit more? This is like a little slower than I'll usually go with DJ Prom Night. I try to keep that in the 80 BPM range, but just for tutorial purposes, we're doing it a little different, so. So we're gonna loop that part another 4 times. And then we're gonna do the crossfade thing a little bit. Just a little bit. Make that a little smoother. Just a tiny bit. Let's see how it sounds before we go crazy. We'll let that ring out a little bit more, actually. I want to hear that whole note, kind of. But not that far, so. Because there's that big 808 in there that kind of like, it gets a little stuffy. So, forgive me, this is kind of a speed run, so I'm basically just going to try to do as much as I can within the last like 35 minutes here. So yeah, I'd love to see you do a production stream, Lux. I've always been curious about your methods. So here's what we're gonna do, actually. I like this 4-bar chunk better. And this is kind of like how I like to do DJ Prom Night. I like to have 3 repetitions and then end the phrase as it normally would. And this isn't always the case, but this is just kind of how I've found like my brain grooves. So we're gonna move that over, push this over. Okay, so interesting. So by examining the wave, Lux, I'm guessing you get like this close, and then get this, and then like chop on the dead point right here in the middle. I'll do that when I can. But otherwise I'll just let crossfades handle it, because it seems to be a little bit faster. Okay, so now we're gonna get into the effects. So first of all, this is kind of the, I like to start with a multi-band compressor. So you can see here you get independent compression of the high, medium and low, medium, mids. So right here we're gonna dump the input for the highs down to like 1. And we're gonna keep the lows the same. We're gonna dump the mids down a little bit to 3. And then here's the key right here is we're gonna compress the bass. So the bass is nice and tight. So next we are going to we're gonna feed this multi-band compressor into a rack. And then we're gonna give each of the bands their own effects. So you just dump an audio effect rack here. And then we're gonna put EQs in here to separate the bands. So we'll use EQ 8. So you hit this little button here on the side of your audio effect rack, and then this gives you your chains. And this is kind of like, I feel like this is an underutilized feature of Ableton. So from here, you can then put multiple EQ 8s, and basically it's tripling the audio. It's sending it through all of these chains at once. So we're gonna do
lows, highs, and mids. I don't think we're going to get super complicated here. So if I want just the lows to be affected, we're going to rename this chain to low. This one's medium. I keep saying medium frequencies. Mids. You know, we're going to flip these so it kind of matches what I've got on the multiband. Okay, so for the lows, basically we're going to put a low pass filter here. And, well, let's check out the waveform, actually. This is a good thing to do. Ableton has this nice little spectrum tool that you can drag in to the track. So before we even get into any of these racks, let's turn these off. Let's check out the waveform. So you can see here exactly what's happening. That snare is hitting like really low. Like there's like a thud around 112 hertz. The bass totally lives in like the 60 hertz region, down to about 30. So this is really useful for us. And we're gonna loop this. So we'll turn on the multiband. That's a sloppy edit. That's not something that I would normally fly with, but we're just gonna roll for the sake of speed. So mids, we're gonna send the lows up to about 100. We're actually gonna do a sub here. Because that snare, I don't want that snare to be processed with the lows. So the sub is gonna go from 30 hertz to 60 hertz, around there. Let's throw an EQ on there. EQ8 on the sub. Okay, so why cut off below 30? Because it sounds cleaner. The more frequencies that you have below like what people are normally going to hear, the more energy it's focusing, and it's wasted energy in my book. I always cut the lows at like slightly under 30, because most people don't have the means to reproduce that high. And it just clutters up your mix, honestly. So, yeah, we'll take this down to 66 hertz. So let's hear the soloed. Yeah, Mark Robinson. This is Ableton Live 10. So then, now that it's soloed, we can kind of increase the range a little bit here. So basically I'm just going to pull this down until I like don't hear any of that snare low end. And then I can actually move this down a little bit too, to about 28.3. Yeah, that sounds nice and like resonant. So another important thing to do with the bass is I always make it mono. So here's this little utility plugin. This is super useful. Drop this in after your EQ on the sub, and just make it mono here. So that focuses it all into the center channel. So our next band, we're going to be working from where we stopped here at, where did we stop here? Oops, I'm on the wrong thing. So we cut it off at about 719 hertz, it looks like. Oh no, of course that's not right. We want my 102 hertz. So the low is going to start from, what's the shape I want? That's the shape I want. So the low is going to start at like 115, because that's where we cut off the sub. So let's solo this and see what it sounds like. And then we'll cut this all the way down to here. So this might be actually overkill making a separate low and a sub, but whatever. So 240 hertz is where we stopped there. So then the mids, you're going to want to put a high pass at 240 or somewhere near it, maybe a little bit above. Let's do 245. So there's just a little bit of bleed there. That's what we want. And then we're going to solo this. So you can almost see here in the frequency range, like where the mid-range ends. It looks like it's let's cut it off about there. I usually try to define the edge of the mid-range as like just barely resonance from the snare. And that's, I think, important to get that slush kick to it. That little splashy snare sound. You want that snare to mostly sit in the mids. So the highs, we're gonna roll off everything up to, where do we stop here? 2.93. So we'll leave a little bit of overlap there. See how there's all this extra energy up here? We're gonna just cut that off entirely, so. See how there's that little like gap? Yeah, we don't want that. So there's our high highs. So basically we have our track and it's separated now between all these bands. So now we can start going crazy with effects and stuff. The highs, so these lows, I'm gonna throw a saturator in here and see what it sounds like. Give it just a little drive. Just a little bit of crunch. And then move the bass way down. Move the frequency down to about where we're at. And I like to change this to sinoid fold. It adds a lot of warmth to the low end. So the sub, we're gonna put a saturator on that too. After the mono, another sinoid fold. Bring this down. Oh yeah. That's how you get that fat ass bass. That saturator does a lot. Okay, so it's a little intense. We're gonna throw a compressor on there. We're gonna throw compressors on all this stuff. And I'm gonna try to stick with the basic live stuff here and not get too crazy into like external processing. So that you can go and, you know, obtain a copy of Ableton however you will, and just be able to kind of recreate this with the plugins that are in, like, built into it. This is totally overkill, but I'm going to throw a limiter after the compressor. And bring that down to like -1. Just put a hard ceiling on it. I feel like a lot of, if you listen to a lot of that Telepath stuff, it's like the bass is the loudest thing in the mix. And it's just absolutely slamming a compressor, and it's probably a nicer compressor than what's in Ableton here. Okay, so we've got a solid anchor so far. And we're gonna kind of, if you see like at the very edge down here, this shows you your master gain coming out of all these tracks. So I've kind of learned the hard way to like start baking in more headroom to my tracks. So we're gonna take a decibel off of all of these. And I like to leave the bass as the loudest thing in the mix still. So we'll kind of go like that. WaveRay64, thanks for joining. You're very welcome. So the mid-range, we're gonna use a filter delay on the mid-range. Bring down the dry. bring down the volume. This can get intense really fast. So the cool thing about the filter delay, I like to just mute this center one and just leave it on the left and the right. And then you can even get kind of crazy here with the spatialization. What I mean by that is in this utility here, you can kind of widen or increase your bands. So we're gonna do narrow stereo here. So basically what I try to picture is like, you know, you want the bass to just be this like fat ass foundation. It's very thick, but it's right in the middle and it's not wide at all. So this is your pillar. And then it kind of goes up into the mids, which should be somewhat skinny, but then have this big, huge, like spatial, kind of blurry delays coming off of it. And then the highs, kind of like a wide umbrella on top. And I don't know, this always kind of helps me picture, this always helps me make the stereo image of the track, which I feel like is pretty important for Slushwave. So narrow stereo here. So you hear that like little like ricocheting back and forth. So we've got this 3 delay here on the left and this 5 delay here on the right. We're gonna go ahead and sync that to the 6. Then it kind of makes this little rhythm. Increase the feedback a little bit. So I also love to do this as well. So for the highs, we're gonna put just a little slapback delay on there, and we're gonna keep that relatively narrow. So we'll just use a regular delay. Actually, there's all these cool delays here. Simple chorus. We'll use a regular delay. Fuck it. So this I'll set to like 1 and then 2. Set the wet up a little higher. And then we'll set this down so it's not like bleeding into the other delays. These filter delays are really, really clutch because delays can get out of control if you're just mapping 1-to-1 your input source. So you wanna slim down the range of what is heard from the delay. And you can achieve this even if you don't have like a fancy filter delay plugin. Like you can just add an EQ before a delay send if you're using another program like Reaper or Fruity Loops or whatever. So that bass is like maybe overwhelmingly fat. We'll bring down the drive on the saturator a little bit. That's a little bit more bearable. Okay. Make it thicker. Okay, so next we're gonna do frequency shifting. So I like this frequency shifter plugin a lot. Specifically the phasing preset, I think it's really good as is. So we'll just drop this in after the filter delay. So that gives like a nice little warm phase to it. We can up that so it's pretty wet. So I like to do this after the delays. There's a couple different ways to do this. Sometimes if it doesn't sound right, I'll put that before the delays. But I kind of like the delays to be going through the phaser. Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty good already. And we're gonna slap a limiter at the end of this chain. We're gonna put limiters on all of the chains just because I think that helps. Should release a song, and if it don't work under DJ Prom, release it as DJ Homecoming Dance. It's a great idea. So the highs, I'm gonna stick a flanger on it. I'm not big on flangers. You know me, but I think that there is a time and a place for everything. And I kind of like flangers to be like an intermittent effect. And I'm not super fond of Ableton's flanger. It just, they always sound kind of cheesy, but we'll lower the rate and then lower the amount. And kind of just drag it down a little bit. I'll drag the dry wet down a little bit. So this I just kind of like to set it at a nice frequency that it can kind of like ride at. Yeah, the Ableton flanger does sound super cheap. Lilium. Maybe I'll use a nicer one for this. Where's that one that I like? Waves has a decent one. I don't know if I've installed it though. You know what? Fuck the flanger. We're gonna use a chorus instead. I think it'll just sound groovier, baby. Yeah, it sounds way better. Okay. We haven't done a whole lot to the lows. That's fine. They don't really need a whole lot. Just needs to be there. In fact, I'm gonna narrow that just a little bit. So that's basically just the bottom of the snare. So it's already sounding pretty sweet. Now we'll do some stuff with the sends. So let's get rid of these MIDI tracks. We're not going to use them. Screw the Ableton reverb. We're going to use a nice reverb for this. I like the Lexicon ones. Let's do the chamber, Lex chamber. So this, I just like to add a little bit of splash to from the entire track. Also, this one too, we're gonna use that little EQ hack I talked about earlier, because I don't want the lows going to the delay. I only want the highs, or the mids and up. So we'll throw an EQ 8 on here. See how much of that low is getting into it? We'll just cut that off like right there. And then this way we can up the reverb time and it's not all muddy from the low end getting into it. So let's just see what that sounds like isolated. So we can crank that a little bit more, I think. Do I work with the metronome on? It depends. I honestly didn't even notice it until you said something. Yeah, that sounds nice. Take care, Mr. Big Fart. Thanks for the donation. I appreciate you, man. All right. We're gonna put a lot more reverb on the highs, actually, and we'll use Ableton's cheap little reverb. We'll use Wooden Room. I like this one a lot, so we'll put that after the chorus. It kind of brings it forward in a weird way. I think it sounds good to turn the chorus on too. Bring that out a little bit. And this one we're gonna swap the low cut and the high cut. So it's got kind of this room sound to it that sounds cool. It's like really present. Okay, so this is sounding pretty cool. Another fun thing to do is put a nice compressor over the entire thing. So we're going to use this, my favorite Waves CLA 2A. So this we're just going to slap on the track after our chain. That just instantly kind of makes it sound nice and hot. Alright, so we've got almost everything here except for the kind of the lo-fi degradation. So I'm going to show you my new favorite cassette plugin. I highly recommend you buy it. It's awesome. It's called Sketch Cassette by Aberrant DSP. So we're going to put this right here after the compressor. And I like to use this Type 4 master tape. And this you can do all kinds of cool stuff with. So you can, my favorite thing is the way that it does dropouts. So you can make the dropouts like really intense. Increase the width. You can like adjust the age of the tape, and I think it kind of just cuts off some of the highs. Add some hiss in here. Just a little bit. Saturate it a little bit. So yeah, dirty bass, that's like definitely like, I like it when the bass kind of like ripples a little bit. So Sketch Cassette, you can get crazy with like, with this wow and flutter stuff. Actually, we'll throw Sketch Cassette on the master so that the reverb can go through it too. So that sounds pretty good to me. I'm sure I forgot some stuff. You can go crazy. I did this at the end of the I'm Not in Love. I did automated the dropout depth and intensity. So you can just pull up this little sidebar here, find dropout depth, show automation. So then you can like make this go. You can like spike it to like kind of simulate how real cassette tape drops out. Hear how it kind of gets all nasty. So this plugin is just like, I don't know how they made this. It sounds so good. It's like easily the best sounding tape emulation I've ever heard. This dropout width does a lot too, so we can kind of just make this go up and down too. You should record your air conditioner and side change the bass. Yeah, that's another reason why it's not like super fun to stream in the summer, is like my PC, I've got 6 case fans in here, and I've got one of those like gigantic Noctua fans, and it's always so loud. Not to mention it heats up the room considerably, so I have to run the AC. The AC set to like energy saving, so. How do you adjust pitch? After separating the EQs so it still stays relative. So the pitch and everything I do at the beginning. So that's baked into the clip. And the pitch doesn't really have too much to do with the EQ, but so we've got this cool loop, and since it's already pitched it, yeah, I would say yes, it is better to pitch it before you start going crazy with the effects. There is definitely something to be said for, you can pitch it afterwards, but in order to do that, like once you start making all these dices, then each one of these has their own independent pitch. So if you just do it first, then you make your chops, and all of your chops have that same pitch. If you decide you wanted to change like this, you know, let's like transpose this up. then it's just that clip that's affected. You see what I mean? So then if you go to this one, it's like you're going to have one little loop that's at -2 while the other ones are at -6. So I think it is easier to pitch first and then do your edits. So let's actually pull up like save. Nope, not going to save it. There's all the plugins I don't have. So here's this track. The opening track. I've pitched this down 4 semitones. I don't even remember. I must have messed with the pitch afterwards. There we go. So the nice thing is, if you use complex, your pitch stays the same no matter what the BPM is. So you can really like, you can make this go like super slow and it'll stay the same pitch. Whereas if you leave it on like re-pitch, it changes it a little bit. It sounds really tight slow. So let's see how close I got to my chain. Okay, I've got the multi-band compressor. It looks like I'm pumping up the highs a little bit more. So I've got lows, mids, upper mids, and high highs. Okay, so this is the latest chain that I'm working on. So yeah, we got the saturator. Interesting, I put it before the mono, and then the EQ. And then I've spiked it a little bit here. Because that's whatever, you know, I guess that's what it sounded good at. And then I'm using this nice CLA 2A compressor on each of the bands. So the mids, EQ. This envelope down, I forgot what this does. I think it just changes the, you can kind of hear it there in the middle. Filter delay. Phasing. Yeah, so I've pretty much recreated that same chain. Give or take a couple little settings changes. I did use the Ableton phaser here. Ableton limiters. Just the regular generic Ableton delay. The high highs, I've got this phasing flange. This is interesting because it's like a resonator, so you can choose like different membranes for it to resonate with. I like pipe, but there's also like, I don't know if you'll be able to hear it necessarily. That one's like really tinny. It basically makes it sound like the highs are coming through a pipe, like you're like listening at the end of a piece of PVC or something. So I like the resonators for adding some extra spice. This is really cool. This is a new plugin I've discovered. It's called Tonal Balance. So it kind of helps with mixing a little bit. You can kind of pick these presets. Like I want DJ Prom Night to sound bass heavy, so I go to bass heavy, and it kind of gives you reference levels for where each of the frequency bands should sit. It allows you to just kind of solo them. I don't give a fuck about the highs, obviously, that's going to be low. But, you know, if you weren't making Slushwave, you could, like, change these to, you know, different levels and just kind of see where it's sitting. But I used this to kind of balance the multi-band compressor. So you can see my chops here. These, I don't think I did any crossfading. The drums were like really cooperative on this one, and they didn't really require a lot of editing. But yeah, that's about it. It's deceptively simple because it's all about the sample selection. Obviously the sample selection is the most important part. It's like finding an album's worth of songs from different albums that sound like they could be on the same album together. And then individually tailoring your chain to each track. So not just slapping the chain on there and calling it a day, but like finding where each of the songs need to be adjusted and adjusting them, you know, in a more tailored manner. So there's that, and then there's also just, you know, I don't have anything on the master here. I use this EQ sometimes for little filter sweeps. And of course, the lovely Aberrant DSP sketch cassette. There's my settings for that. I've got pretty heavy depth on the dropouts, pretty heavy width. The intensity kind of varies. But yeah, I can't recommend this sketch cassette plugin enough. This is like the best sounding fake tape I've ever heard in my life. It just sounds so good. It just sounds like real tape to me. Just the way that you can like crank this to Warn, or you can like change it to like Type 1 cheap tape and it sounds like somebody, you know, threw a blanket over it or something. It sounds so good. Everyone should buy this plugin. Well, yeah, it's minute past 9. I think that's it for tonight. I hope you guys liked the stream. I got a couple things to do afterwards. Sounds like an Illuminated Paths tape. Dear Lord. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you can mimic your own cheap Type 1 tapes with that. So, glad we could get a laugh out of that. Is there any good software that isn't subscription-based for music production? Ableton is not subscription-based. You can buy it. You can get a student discount on it. Or, you know, there's other ways to get it too, if you know where to look. I am not going to be saving this VOD, this stream. This is going to be a one-time only thing, and we're going to nuke it right after this. And I failed to record it, so I'm going to have to use some sort of a YouTube to MP4 converter or whatever. I guess I'll leave it up for a couple days. How about that? If you missed it, you get to see it. But I'll delete the VOD after a week because I'm like that. It's ephemeral. So yeah, well, all right, we'll leave the VOD up for a week, and then I'm going to delete it. Siri, remind me to delete the VOD in 1 week. Okay, great. Yeah, anyway, thanks for joining. I won't be streaming next week. I'm out of town. But I think into September, I'm going to be streaming a little bit more regularly again on Fridays. So yeah, please look forward to it. And I'll catch y'all later. Lots of fun surprises and fun things happening in the next couple months. So yeah, if you liked this and you want to find some more DJ Prom Night, it's worldofequipped.bandcamp.com/subscribe. Q has put the link in the chat there. So yeah, thanks so much everyone, and I'll see y'all on Neo Gaia Tuesdays.